Welcome everyone. Make yourself comfortable. If you haven't gotten soup, there's cream of butternut squash soup, and there's also tea and water if everyone needs. Good stuff. I made it, if anyone's wondering.
It's so good.
Thank you. And who judged it? Noah judged it. Where are you? Where's Noah? She judged it. Okay, great. First of all, I would like to give a big thank you to Eli for hosting this in his home. He also isn't here. He left. So we can give a round of applause, but he's not going to hear us. I don't know where he went. He disappeared, and that is fine. That's cool. Welcome. We're just getting started. Oh, look, he's back.
You just got thanked. You missed it.
We just thank you, and you got a round of applause. Okay. Today is going to be part 2 of last time, which was part 1 of my seminar on happiness, pleasure, and joy, what the differences are, the different ways that we feel good, and how we can make that relevant to our life. Okay, so last time, which for anyone who wasn't here, just really quickly, we talked about what is pleasure, what is happiness, what is joy, what the differences between them are. We talked about pleasure being an emotion that we feel after the fact of an experience that was fun, that was pleasurable. For example, going jet skiing or taking drugs. Just to name a few, eating really good food. We mentioned that happiness is essentially not an emotion at all, but rather a state of mind, the way we process our emotions. So we might feel the emotion of anger, but we can choose to be content and okay with that emotion, understand that we're experiencing the emotion, and to let it process and experience in the most healthy way. That's happiness. And joy is the emotion that we experience from doing an action or experiencing an event that has a purpose, that has a goal. For example, donating money or doing anything that gives you a connection with God, working out, just to name a few. Today we're going to get theory out of the way. Today we're going to focus specifically on the emotion of joy, because the emotion of joy is the strongest of all the emotions. It is the one that we are able to experience all the time, and it feels great. Therefore, we want to be able to experience the emotion of joy all the time and feel great all the time. But wait a minute, you might be asking, Liam, if anything has to have, if in order to experience joy, you have to have a purpose to an action, what if I make up my purpose? What if I just, base it on something random? What if I base, jihadi terrorism as my purpose and ridding the world of imbeciles? That's a purpose, right? Do I experience the emotion of joy? Yeah, you do. Which is cool, in a sense. It's also not cool because that means that joy isn't really a tell of what's right or wrong. It's just a tell of what we ascribe meaning to, what we value. Okay, so today we're going to talk about this. We're going to talk about what I like to call everlasting joy. I want to have a purpose that I can, connect to, that I can use my entire life and all the time, so I can always experience the emotion of joy. Because that probably will lead me to have a higher quality of life. If I feel good all the time because I'm doing things all the time that have a purpose, let me find a purpose that I can connect to all the time and therefore feel great all the time. That make sense? Amen. So how do I do that? How do I know if a purpose is one that I can get get joy from all the time? So let's talk about purpose. Anyone heard of Viktor Frankl? Man's Search for Meaning? Viktor Frankl was born in Germany or something, and he, after he was married and already had a kid, got sent to the concentration camps. And in the concentration camps, he then came out to become essentially an award-winning psychologist, even though he wasn't even a psychologist at all. He was a psychiatrist, which is very interesting. They have beef, psychologists and psychiatrists, a little bit. And he wrote a book, Man's Search for Meaning. Why did he write that book? What was that based off of? It was based off of the fact that he noticed, his observation, that the people that survived, or survived the longest, were the types of people who had something to live for. The people that didn't have anything to live for kind of just gave up. It's very sad. But the people that did have something to live for, he saw had the highest rates of survival. Which is interesting, because that means having a purpose leads us to want to live. Interesting. We could take another source. Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if anyone's ever heard of that. Essentially, Abraham Maslow's hierarchy of needs, Abraham Maslow was an American psychologist. He released this paper in 1984. And essentially what it is like this. It was 5 tiers, going from the most basic of human needs to the least basic of human needs. Starting... You're on speakerphone in front of the whole class.
Hey guys, I'm kind of confused how to get there.
Avi, do you want to go outside and yell at her? Or take this.
Interrupt, guys.
Here, take this. Okay. We're back. Okay. So the first level of human need was essentially things like food, water, shelter. The second level was things like human connection and a sense of community, all the way up until the 5th tier, which is essentially the best of human needs that we can get. If this is a human need that we're striving for, we're in a pretty good shape.
Self-actualization.
Exactly. Self-actualization, which in simple terms means reaching your potential. Released the paper in 1984, came back home, had a bowl of butternut squash soup, thought over his life decisions, and realized that he made a mistake. Why did he make a mistake? He realized that self-actualization is not the highest of human needs. In fact, there's a higher level. That he called self-transcendence. He came back and made a revision to his paper. Self-transcendence. What's self-transcendence? It, in simple terms, means, just to say it on the floor, essentially contributing your life to a goal greater than yourself. Living with a purpose. So we both have what I like to use the term empirical data, which just means past data, things that we observed, and also psychological sources for understanding that having a purpose is a pretty good thing. And we can also use a little bit of psychology to understand that that's what our emotions actually respond to. They respond to purpose. Pretty cool. Okay, so let's go back. How can we live a life of purpose? All the time, I don't want my purpose to fail, because if my purpose fails, like at some point, jihadi terrorism is going to go down the drain, and they're going to realize that, okay, maybe that wasn't the best thing that we should have been dedicating our life to, and they're going to have to figure something else out. I want to tell you the story of Hubert Baumeister. Hubert Baumeister. I never heard of Hubert Baumeister. Probably not. Neither had I until a few weeks ago. Hubert Baumeister was a guy born in the Netherlands in 1960. Grew up, went to college, started working for a bank as like a teller in a local bank called ABN. His mom was from one of the royal families of the Netherlands, therefore was born with extreme class and status, and essentially was expected to succeed, and succeed he did. Went on from being a teller to being a clerk to moving up the ranks over a career of 21 years. In the early 2000s, essentially becoming the CFO, Chief Financial Officer, one of the top people at the entire firm, which at that time was the biggest bank in Denmark. It's pretty good, doing pretty well for yourself, making millions of dollars a year, bought a mansion in Scotland, got married, had 2 beautiful kids, was described by his friends to have had a loving relationship with his wife. His wife also said the same thing, so did his kids. Okay, where's the catch?
He was cheating on her.
No. That we don't know. 2007, his bank called ABN, started undergoing a merger with essentially a hostile takeover, if anyone knows what that is. Another bank tried to buy them out in not the most friendly of ways. And during the buyout, 2007 turns to 2008. Financial crisis hits. All the banks lose all their money. He's out of a job. He essentially has to, give up his position at the bank. Some of the branches of the bank close their doors. He currently, at this time, is living in London. He goes back home and falls into a depression. In June 2009, he leaves his home in London in his car, $75,000 car with 2 shotguns, and is found next week. Okay. Why? Why would he do that? Okay, let's go over this guy's life story. Even after he lost his job, has a home in London, a mansion in Scotland, 2 beautiful kids, a loving wife. Not 1, not 2, but 3 nonprofit organizations where he donates money for climate change and for the welfare of London and for animals in Africa or something like that. And what's the deal? Why did he do that? So let's go back to joy. Maybe we can understand this from joy. And from essentially having a grounded joy. Maybe we can understand why a grounded joy is so important. This guy, Hubert, he goes his entire life with a goal, with a purpose, with a mission. His goal, his mission, is to make a lot of money, essentially. To be a big, powerful bank. I'm sure he had dreams of becoming the CEO of this bank one day. That's what he based his purpose on. And then one day, it all falls apart. Gone. Within a matter of days. He can't handle the drop. He can't handle the emotional turmoil of all of a sudden experiencing this high level of joy all the time because he was doing something for a purpose, and all of a sudden that purpose is gone. What does he have? He's got nothing to live for.
That's so not true, though.
Yeah?
He does have things to live for.
He does have things to live for. But the thing that he was basing his purpose on, his purpose, wasn't something that's not grounded, something that's not stable. You can see he's got so many things to live for. He's got a wife, he's got kids, he's a philanthropist donating millions of dollars a year to multiple causes. He's got lots of friends that like him. He likes his friends, and yet he bases his entire purpose, his entire life's mission on making lots of money, and all of a sudden that falls apart. He can't handle it. So I don't want that for us. I want us to live a life of joy. Therefore, the title of this class, Everlasting Joy. How can we live a life that is so full with joy on something that is grounded so that the joy never falls apart? And in order to do that, I want to give you a groundwork for figuring out what purposes are worth following, are going to bring you everlasting joy. I have a three-step checklist. If you ask yourselves these 3 questions, you're going to have a much better idea of if this cause is worth dedicating your life to. Let's get started. 3 things. First one's pretty simple. And it must be for something, as opposed to being against something. Because we can infinitely build. There's only so much we can destroy. We can only destroy what's built, but we can infinitely build. Which means that we should be focusing on something that we can build, that we can create. And sometimes all this takes is a little bit of framing, right? You could have the same cause, like the same purpose, and just switch the way you look at it, and all of a sudden it's a cause worth pursuing. For example, whoever lives in New York and is following New York politics, apparently they're having a housing crisis. Current mayor wants to fix that. Hopefully he does a good job. I can either say, I want to eliminate homelessness. The second I eliminate homelessness, then I'm done. Great, I'm done. Or I could reframe it and say, I want to make sure that everyone in New York City has a safe and comfortable place to live. Which one sounds better? Eliminating homelessness or making sure everyone in New York City has a better place, has a safe and comfortable place to live? It's just a little bit of reframing. That's number one. It has to be for something, not against something. Number two, it's gotta be resilient. What does that mean? It must be something that can stand the test of time, and a way to do that is ideally something that you don't think you can achieve in your lifetime. Because if you can't achieve in your lifetime, well, it's gonna bring you a lifetime of joy, right? So for example, we're having this conversation. The cause of curing cancer. Making sure that everyone is healthy from tumors. Reframe it into a positive. Okay, so we can come up with a cure for cancer, but we still have to maintain that. We're not done yet if we come up with a cure for cancer. Then we have to make it accessible. We have to make the cure for cancer accessible. Once it's accessible and everyone has it, people are still going to get cancer. So we have to, make people immune to it somehow, edit it out of the gene pool. Once we edit it out of the gene pool, then no one's going to get cancer anymore. Okay, that, I think, is a really big goal. Can I achieve it in my lifetime? Probably not without a lot of help. Just do the math. Do you think this is realistically something that you're going to achieve in your lifetime? Yes? Okay, then make sure you have a backup purpose so you don't fall off you don't take the same path Hubert did once you no longer have something to work for, or work your whole life towards it. If it's something that you can't achieve in your lifetime. Now, you can always pivot. I'm not saying, pick something right now that you should dedicate your life to and that's it. That's the only thing you do with it. No, you can obviously pivot. But whenever you go into a big endeavor, this is something that you should ask. Is this something that's going to make me joy and not make me fall off a cliff? That's two. So the first one is to be for something. Two, has to be resilient. Third and final one is it has to align with your morals and values. What's the difference between morals and values? Why isn't it align with your morals or align with your values? Does it have to align with both? Only one? So theoretically, it only has to align with either your morals or your values. What's the difference? The difference is morals is what we ascribe to being true and false. Essentially, the framework from which we decide what is and what isn't. Like, for example, I think everyone here is Jewish. Most of us ascribe, base our morals on the Torah. The Torah is, we don't kill, we don't steal, we eat a certain way, we act a certain way. That's our moral set. Our value set, on the other hand, is what we believe to be important. For example, I could value effective communication. I like effective communication. I could value being nice to people. I could value helping old ladies cross the street. So many things I could value. Values are what I ascribe to be right and wrong. For example, yeah.
Morals or values?
Morals are true and false. Values are right and wrong.
Values are right and wrong.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
Essentially, if I value helping old ladies cross the street and I see an old lady crossing the street and someone just blow by her, I'd be like, that guy did the wrong thing. Why didn't he help her cross the street? Right? Like,
Wait, sorry. Morals
are true and false,
and really?
and values are right and wrong.
Okay, I never thought of it in that way.
Yeah, that's okay. That's how I understand it, at least.
Totally. I'm not discrediting.
You can discredit me. Or we can have a discussion about it afterwards. Okay, so if a thing is, number one, for something, number two, resilient, number three, aligning with my morals and values, that's something that I can essentially use as a pillar, a beacon for what I can gain joy from. Let's go back to joy for a second. just to explain really solidly what the emotion is, joy is a hormonal response to an action that we do with a purpose. And essentially, the baseline of joy, if I have to plot it on a graph, the happiness is around here. Pleasure, your hormones spike and then fade. As we know, when you drink alcohol, you feel really good and then it kind of fades away. It goes really high. And joy, if you connect to it, can sit at the top of where pleasure is. Obviously, the more you connect to something bringing you joy, the more you're going to experience it. I'll give you an example that I like. And it's actually related to Judaism. I like doing things that I understand doing, and I don't like doing things that I don't get. Great. Okay. So I'm, learning Jewish law, and I see funny things like you have to put your shoe on your right foot first, and then you put your shoe on your left foot, and then you tie your left foot, and then you put your shoe on your right foot, and if you're a lefty, it's the opposite. Everyone heard of that? Anyone heard of this? Another one is when you wash your hands, like for bread, or in the morning, whenever you wash your hands with a cup, you pick it up with your right hand, you wash, you pass it to your left hand, and then you put it down and pick it up with your right hand. We don't pass from our left hand to our right hand, and if you're a lefty, it's the opposite. And I look at these laws, I'm like, what's going on? Why is God dictating the way I have to put my shoes on? That feels very, very restricting, very limiting. Even a lot of things like kosher feels very restricting for me. Why do I have to only eat in this way? And there's a bunch of other, rules that kind of don't make sense, yet we do them anyway, and it feels very restrictive. I know a lot of people that, are deciding whether or not they want to be Jewish or not and decide not because it just feels very restrictive. Let's look at it from the other side. And I like to use an example that I call the billionaire neighbor. I used to live in Potomac, Maryland. There's lots of billionaires. Half the people in my neighborhood had mansions. And imagine you have a billionaire neighbor. You live on a one-lot property, ranch house, doing fine. Your neighbor comes along, moves into the neighborhood, buys 4 lots of land, builds a 24,000 square foot house, basketball court inside, basketball court outside, zip line in his backyard, pool. I'm describing someone's house right now. In the master bedroom, they have a kitchenette. Like,
Not my house, though.
no, not your house. They have an indoor kitchen, outdoor kitchen, upstairs kitchen, downstairs kitchen, wine cellar, party, everything. Arcade, full gym in their house. It's bigger than a lot of, institution gyms that I know. If you live next door to that guy, you want to be friends with him or not?
Yeah.
Why not?
He's a nice guy. He's got no red flags. He's not a weirdo. You want to be friends with him?
Yeah.
Why?
So I can go hang out in the house.
So you can go hang out in the house, so you can ask for a favor, so you can get a job if you need. Maybe if you ever need an investment on a business that you're starting, you go to your billionaire neighbor, he likes you, you like him, you have a good connection with him, you can get an investment. Easy. I'll be friends with my billionaire neighbor. Sounds good. Sounds nice. What?
Worry.
Of course, yeah. He's going to invite you to parties, all that kind of stuff. Okay. Let's imagine God now. God is essentially the billionaire neighbor, but on steroids. God's not on steroids.
Why is the whole shit?
You gotta conceptualize it. God has everything, can give you anything. I want to have a good relationship with him. And he has no reason not to give you anything. Right? He doesn't not like you. Want to have a good relationship with him? Okay, great. How do you have a good relationship with God? We don't know God. We can't see God. We don't understand God. Can't hear God. It's kind of like a being that we just don't understand at all and can't conceptualize and can't really connect to in any sort of meaningful way. How do we build a relationship with God? I'll give you a secret. Tell you a secret. God, he gave us a book. He's like, here's how you have a connection with me. These are the ways, 613, it's more like 2,000, whatever. These are the ways that you can have a good connection with me. You want to increase your connection with me? Here, do these. You want to decrease your connection with me? Do other things. Do the opposite. Okay. And it's not like it's like a take it or leave it. You know, you do some of it, you'll have a better relationship. You do more of it, you'll have a better relationship. You do less of it, you might have a less good relationship. If there's one thing that you really connect to and you do that really, really well, you're gonna have a better relationship, right? Like it's all not all or nothing. It's not that black and white. Okay, great. So let's go back to God telling me to put my shoes on a certain way. Let's go back to that. Okay, now I think, if I put my shoes on, I'm a lefty. I put my left shoe on, then my right shoe on, then I tie my right shoe, then I tie my left shoe. What did I do? Did an action with a purpose. How does my body respond? Produces a whole bunch of hormones, and the hormones in the exact amounts that are the emotion of joy. Oh, great. So now I put my shoes on, and I'm experiencing the emotion of joy, which feels great. And if I like really connect to that emotion of joy, I'll feel it even stronger by putting my shoes on. Right? Just put my shoes on and experience the emotion of joy. Sounds pretty good to me. So all of a sudden we went from being stuck inside of a set of laws to having a bunch of things that we can do, actions that we can do, that can bring us all the emotion of joy. And some of them are pretty cool. Like, don't kill people. While I'm not killing people, every second that I'm not killing people, I can understand that I'm gaining a closer relationship with God. Avi liked that one. Understand that I'm having a closer relationship with God and experience the emotion of joy all the time. Or, for example, we're sitting here in Jerusalem. There are a whole bunch, and according to some opinions, walking in Jerusalem is a mitzvah. Okay, great. So I walk in Jerusalem and I can experience the emotion of joy. What do I do differently? Nothing. I did nothing differently. I was either walking in Jerusalem and feeling fine, or walking in Jerusalem and feeling great. All because you did it with a purpose. You understood what your purpose is, and you connected to that purpose. Who here does that? Try a raise of hands. Who here does that? I'll raise my hand. And what extra effort does it take? Nothing. All you have to do is think. You think that you understand that you're doing this for a purpose. You know, okay, you're like, okay, this soup is made in a meat pot, I could have put cream in it instead of coconut cream. And then it would be not kosher. It still would be kosher technically because there's not actually meat in the soup, but according to some opinions, it wouldn't be kosher. And then whenever I ate the soup, I would actively know that I am weakening my relationship with my billionaire neighbor. As opposed to, now I didn't do that, I'm eating something that's good, that has a green check on it, and I connect with God before I eat it. I give gratitude. All of a sudden, eating the soup doesn't just make me feel good because it tastes good. It doesn't just give me the emotion of pleasure. Now it also gives me the emotion of joy. I have a theory. There we go. Good soup? Good soup. I have a theory. I don't know if this theory is correct. I'm happy to discuss it with whoever wants to discuss it afterwards. Was it a month ago where we hosted here had a couple come for Shabbat?
2 weeks.
2 weeks ago? Had a couple come for Shabbat. They say, hey, like we didn't know the couple. Couple wasn't even supposed to come at the last minute, ended up showing up. And they go, hey, but by the way, we got married last Sunday night. I'm like, wait a minute. That means it's Sheva Brachot tonight. And they're like, yeah, I guess. Like we weren't doing that. We weren't planning on it. And I was like, do you want us to do a Sheva Brachot for you? They're like, yeah, maybe anyway. Like, take my, we'll get each other's contact after Shabbat. If you want it, call me, I'll set it up for you. What was I expecting? I was expecting them, go back to Tel Aviv, fly back to America the next day, and that's it. But I offered. I did my part, right? Motzei Shabbat, half an hour after Shabbat, I get a call. 45 minutes after Shabbat, I get a call. Hey, it's Rotem. Yes. Do you remember that you mentioned that you'd throw us a Sheva Brachot? Yes. Can we do that? Yeah. Let's do that. Okay. So then I start calling all my friends. We need 10 men. Okay. Let's get this all together. I called Aryeh. Aryeh answered the phone. I called you came as well. I don't think anyone else here was there. Got 10 men. I get in the process of getting 10 men. I call Eli. Eli's like, I'll host it. He hosted it. We had it on the rooftop. It was fantastic. Got 10 men. That was great. Had a party, ordered food, did a Sheva Brachot. Great thing to do. I'm talking with him, and I was giving him similar concepts that I'm talking about now, and he was really enjoying them. And he mentioned that, he said, at my wedding, I think what I experienced was actually those three emotions combined, or the two emotions plus happiness. Which is interesting because, anyone here married? Okay.
Amen.
Amen. Okay, that gives me some ideas.
Married 3 times and divorced 60.
Okay. Okay, that gives me some ideas. Anyway. Yeah. Anyway, we're talking and he's like, I think married people say that when you get married, you're experiencing such a strong emotion of feeling good, and it's described as ecstasy. Not the drug, the emotion, ecstasy. Thank you, Golda. What's ecstasy? I'm talking to Rotem, and he's like, I think that's just me experiencing pleasure because I'm at a party and it's my wedding, joy because I know why I'm getting married, and happiness because I'm understanding the emotions that I'm experiencing and I'm experiencing them so strongly. I have a theory that when we get married, the emotions that we're experiencing are just pleasure, joy, and happiness all in one. Maybe it's not right, maybe it is right, I don't know. But this is the three-step process is the point that I really want to take home. I really want, if I want you guys to take one thing out of this class, it's to be understanding the things that you do, asking yourself these questions, these 3 questions, whenever you're doing something with a purpose. Number 1, is it for something, not against something? Number 2, is it resilient? Will it stand the test of time if things all of a sudden change politically, geographically, in any sort of way? Will my cause still be relevant? And number 3, does it align with my morals and values, which is obviously an individual thing? If, A, it's for something. For example, one thing that I want to do, I'm doing it right now. Okay, great. Let's use this as an example. Number 1, is it for something? I have a mission. I want to help, teach, educate the younger generation. I want to inspire them to do things, to have high self-esteem, and to have the ability of agency. Agency, if anyone doesn't know agency, it is the ability to cause change, essentially to get stuff done. We don't get stuff done besides for getting stuff done. If we're not getting stuff done, we're not getting stuff done. Was it a Hormozy quote? I don't remember whose quote it was. The only thing that's doing the thing is doing the thing. Familiar? You know this? No? Okay. That's something that I want to do. Is that for something? Yes. Are there always going to be more young people that have low self-esteem or that don't have high agency? Yes, there always will be more. Number 2, is it resilient? Yeah. Everyone's going to grow up, and new ones are going to place them, and we'll have more and more. And I got mixed up. I said the second reason for the first one. The first one is it for something? Yes, it's for something. I'm not trying to eliminate low self-esteem. I'm trying to build high self-esteem. Switch the framing. Number 2, is it Resilient? Yeah, because there's always going to be more young people with low self-esteem. Number 3, does it align with my morals and values? Yeah. I mean, it doesn't not align with my morals. Nothing I'm doing doesn't align with my morals. Building community, educating, fostering relationships, building connections. There are already, just in the 2 events that I've run so far here, there have already been 2 business connections that have been made, which is pretty cool. And more on the way. One person here was going to I was trying to set up with another person, and then one of them ended up not being able to come. And it certainly aligns with my values. You know, I value self-esteem. I value agency. I value good connections. I value good communication. I value community, which is all those things that we're doing right here. Therefore, I would qualify this as something that will bring me everlasting joy. If I do this all the time, I'm working on writing, I'm working on teaching, I'm working on fostering relationships and community, that's a good cause. There we go.
Can't snap.
I thought you were doing the money symbol.
No.
Classic Jew, right?
Do we have any questions, comments, concerns? Yeah.
So it seems like you get things done. Like you really take inspiration and put it into action.
Yeah.
So, which would be a great name, by the way.
I wonder who inspired that name.
Yeah. But do you ever get scared? Like
This one inspired that name, by the way.
Does this scare you to speak in front of all these people?
Not anymore.
Look at him. Kama charisma. Wow.
Wow, Noah.
I introduced you guys.
Also, Golda introduced us, yeah.
So that it goes now.
Thank you, Golda. So Golda also makes connections. She does that too. So I want to just open the floor to everyone here. I want to try and go over a few examples, just as a finisher. Go over a few examples of things that we do with a purpose that we're not sure if it's a purpose that will bring us everlasting joy, or a purpose that we're sure that won't bring us everlasting joy and explain why, or a purpose that we're sure that will bring us everlasting joy and explain why. Anyone have anything?
I don't know if I have confidence that this is...
For you, if it's personal, it's for you.
I'm saying I think this one is strong. I mean, it's an example you gave, but working out, let's go something a little bit more interesting. Pursuing team athletics.
Pursuing team athletics.
Yeah. Like I've spent time on a couple of different teams. I had my time in Haifa with the Haifa track team, and I've had a couple years in Jerusalem playing frisbee.
Right.
And I can't this year, and I've really been missing it. We were just talking about that.
So let's break that down.
So how does that?
Let's break that down. What do we have in team athletics? Team sports. Number 1, we have sports. Number 2, we have team.
Community.
So team is essentially community. We're doing things with other people, which builds connections, and we need human connection. That's, in fact, on the second rung of Maslow's hierarchy of needs, which we mentioned earlier. That's on the second rung, is human connection. And especially, even more than just human connection, interpersonal connection, community, what you have in a team. Number 2 is sport. Why do we do sports? We want to be healthy, right? If, plenty of people that work out to look good end up taking steroids and actually ruining their health. Right? And then at some point, they realize that...
That'd be an example of a non-everlasting purpose. You look at somebody
That-
like
that-
Coleman.
That's exactly.
He's not connected to his purpose so much right now.
He's not connected to his purpose so much right now, for example.
Moves around in a wheelchair for this one.
Yeah, he's moving around Chile. And plenty of bodybuilders who have died from essentially overworking the body and also taking performance enhancing drugs. That would not be a purpose. But being healthy, for example, good purpose.
Skill building.
Yeah.
Definitely big on it.
So yes. So sport, I would consider, is it for something? Yeah, I want to be healthy. I don't want to be not healthy. I want to be healthy. Which is the framing. Number 2, is it resilient? Yeah. As long as I live, I want to be healthy. I don't want to be healthy when I'm young. I don't want to be healthy when I'm old. I want to be healthy the whole time, right? In fact, it's as good as it gets for resiliency because it is based on my lifespan, right? And number 3, does it align with my morals and values? Yeah, like morally, it might not have anything to do with my morals. In fact, in this case, with this room being entirely Jewish, it actually does align with our morals to take care of our body. So when you're taking care of your body, not only can you experience the emotion of joy because you know that you're going to be healthy, but also because God told you to be healthy. So you get double joy. And if you value being healthy, then it also aligns with your values. So I would say team sport is a just cause. Will bring you everlasting joy. Yeah. Yeah? Anyone else?
David was depressed.
King David?
The king?
Yeah, I think he lived with great purpose and moral clarity.
Yeah, but he was also a redhead.
So good. That was so good.
Sorry.
I'm going to pass that on to my redheaded friend. David.
That was
It canceled
so
coming to
valid.
this event last
That was
minute.
so valid because I just hung out with my sister's husband who hates redheads. Yeah, sorry.
We also had a David who's a redhead who was supposed to come tonight and couldn't come in the end.
The redhead person at the table.
I'm so
Okay.
happy that that's too bad.
I knew he was.
Golda, I don't know enough about the story.
Sorry. It's not your fault. Some people are discriminatory and racist, and that's their problem.
I don't know enough about the story. When it says David's depressed, when, why, where, what other factors are in play?
I think that
It's a little bit of a generalization, you know what I mean?
Because also when it talks about Shlomo, when it talks about the era of Tkufa of Shlomo, is that they sat under their zayit tree and they were actually punished for that. Like there is something Jewish about the struggle of not really knowing joy or contentment. There is something Jewish about understanding pain.
I don't know.
Understanding
Yeah, but what's
pain.
joy? How do you define joy? I mean, say
Again.
joy could be an inner contentment, a feeling of peace, of being in touch with your intuition and God, or like an outer type of joy. Of course, when you have inner type of joy, it will manifest into the outer type of joy. But maybe David did have joy; he just didn't have the joy that you're referencing.
Again, I'll go for it. Just go over the definitions again. Pleasure is an emotion that we experience from an action or an experience that is fun. That the action in and of itself is an action that makes us feel good, like eating good soup, or like driving really fast on a motorcycle down a highway, for example. Things that bring adrenaline rushes. Skiing, for example, it's ski season. It's tea.
That's also pepper cider. I just made that up. No, I just mean that like when you live with a purpose or moral clarity, that in itself can sometimes not be a joyous feeling.
When you live with moral clarity, that can sometimes in and of itself not be a joyous feeling.
Because it could be very isolating.
It can be isolating.
Yes.
I wouldn't define that as that in and of itself.
But I don't think those two are mutually exclusive. I don't think you have to be depressed in order to live
That's
with
not in and of
moral
itself,
clarity.
That's with context, meaning if I live with moral clarity and I get joy from that, but I'm socially isolated, that's not me being depressed because of the moral clarity. That's me being depressed because of social isolation, which is not in and of itself, right? That thing could bring me some joy, but if it's not so important to me that it brings me abundant joy and it causes a bunch of side effects that are really difficult for me, I might end up in a net negative state. But that thing could still be bringing me joy.
Depression and joy aren't mutually exclusive, right? You can be experiencing joy while also being relatively miserable because of totally other factors.
So that's what I'm saying. I'm saying that joy isn't like this like lofty happiness. Like you're defining joy as contentment. That's like
No, I'm defining happiness as contentment. I'm defining joy as purpose. Something with a purpose. Contentment is happiness, which is not an emotion at all. Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt, but it says there's no joy as in the resolution of doubt, right? When you have more clarity, you don't have doubt. So then,
When you have moral clarity, you don't necessarily not have doubt. You can have plenty of doubt without moral clarity.
okay, you could have
With moral clarity, I mean.
Yeah, it could come, and then other types of doubt could come, but the basic foundation of your life is not doubtful, and that brings you a certain level of joy. It says it's a literally in Pekavot.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So,
walking Sefer Torah.
I don't understand the question.
no, I'm just making a statement, kind of that she's saying that it doesn't bring joy, right? or that's it could be
I'm
whatever.
saying that we have like
Yeah.
examples in the Torah of people that lived a life
Yeah.
of moral clarity, like the highest, like Mashiach ben David
Yes.
comes from, and that were like literally not happy people. So, but you're saying happiness, joy.
Right,
What
because
is word?
in general they weren't happy because of
Again, Golda.
They were so
The retailing, bro, is like.
they were so
Swedes
But when you have such knowledge and such
The
clarity
Swedes and the highest
experiences,
depression
because
rate
you
in
think
the
it's like the world is not
It's not aligned.
It's not aligned with what your
Exactly.
experiences,
And
and
suicide
that
rate.
feels number one lonely, number two, and it hurts you.
Everyone should watch House of the Dead.
Again, this is why I'm defining the emotions.
So it's not what are the others?
There's differences between these emotions.
Yeah, there was happiness, self-doubt. You knew God was with you.
David could have not been happy because he didn't know how to process his emotions. Therefore, that could have made him miserable. He could still live a life of purpose.
David processes emotions very healthy.
He wrote the whole Tehillim. He was so honest.
guys, let's give some.
Again. Let's just define it from the beginning.
The truth, right?
Pleasure, pleasure is an emotion that we get from something that is fun. Happiness is the way we process our emotions. Joy is when we do an action or experience that is for a purpose. Again, this is pretty biological, the different emotions. So, what David did or didn't feel is complicated. It's not. Emotional processing is not simple. Emotions are not simple, right? So, if we could be experiencing the emotion of joy because of living with a life of purpose, or we could not understand that we're living with a life of purpose, even though we're doing something that's purposeful, we don't understand it, therefore we don't experience joy. We could be experiencing joy and not be happy because we don't know how to process our emotions well. In Tehillim, going through Tehillim, we understand that we understand that David's going through a lot of struggles, and in fact, in Tehillim, one of the most popular words in Tehillim is the word ashrei. Ashrei translates to happy. Osher, abundance. And in certain contexts, it could also sort of be contentment. If you're meushar, you're content, right? So, essentially, what ashrei means is happiness. All through Tehillim, it goes ashrei mishe XYZ. It goes ashrei mishe. Happy is the person who lives in the house of God. Happy is the person who follows in the way of righteous men. Happy is the person who strays from evil. For example, so. And that always comes after or before a really hard story in David's life, right? We tell a really hard story in David's life, and then he goes ashrei mishe. So in fact, if you read the Tehillim, you can see that as you go through Tehillim, he's learning, and he's also teaching us, right? So we understand David's not perfect. He's not. He's learning while he's going through all these very, very difficult experiences. David's life was not easy. In no way, shape, or form was it easy. And while he's going through it, he might have been experiencing the emotion of joy the whole time. Maybe he did or didn't know he was living with a purpose, and he connected to that. But he certainly, at least from the beginning, didn't have the strongest emotional processing. And we know that from reading the book of Tehillim and understanding that while he's going through all these really traumatic experiences, he's actually teaching. He's teaching us how to be happy. And we can understand that from the, 50 odd times that it just uses the word ashrei alone. And then he also uses the word osher and meushar and all these, different synonyms of the word. But we can understand by going through Tehillim that he's teaching us. He's teaching us how to be happy. So I think David did have a very difficult life. Whether or not he experienced the emotion of joy the entire time because he connected to the purpose that he was living for, I don't know. Whether or not he might have been miserable, I assume he did. We can see that in his writings. We can also see in his writings a process of growth. I mean, I think that sort of answers the question of David, because you understand that he didn't have an easy life. And also that joy and happiness are not mutually exclusive. Right? You don't have to, if you're experiencing joy, you might not necessarily be happy. And if you're happy, you might not necessarily be experiencing the emotion of joy all the time. And also you can experience them on different levels. But what I want you to take away from today is that if I understand what might bring me joy, and something that is resilient enough, that is strong enough that it can bring me joy all the time, I always have the option to connect to it. If I have something that can bring me, if I have some sort of purpose, and this is one reason why I really like the concept of religion, because it gives you a framework, a purpose framework. It gives you something to connect to. Therefore, whenever you're feeling sort of down, you can understand, you can build yourself the mindset. It's not easy to change your mindset. I understand it's not easy to change your mindset. I'm not saying any of this is easy to pull off in your day-to-day life. I'm not saying that. But I'm giving you the framework of what we're trying to get to. We're trying to get to a place where that all of our actions are done, or most of our actions, it doesn't have to be all of them, we don't have to do everything with purpose. That's kind of, that'd be pretty difficult. That every action that we're doing that could have a purpose, we connect to that purpose, we understand the purpose that it has, and we understand the biological response that our body has to us doing an action with purpose. And then we can connect to the emotion of joy. And the emotion of joy feels great, especially when you have a lot of it. And I want us to feel great. We're all striving to feel great. I don't think everyone's trying to be miserable here. I think we're all trying to feel good, right? Good?
So good.
Satisfied?
I'm just really tired because I don't feel this out.
Oh God. Okay. Well, thank you all for coming. You're welcome to stay and hang out. You're welcome to stay and hang out. You're welcome to go. You're welcome to do whatever you want. There's soup.